Live from the 35-yard line, it's Onside Kicking It with Alex P.
What's up, everybody? What's happening? It's your boy Alex P, and we're back with another episode of Onside Kicking It with Alex P. This episode, time to talk about the Falcons. 2020 was yet another unsuccessful season for our boys. 4-12, that's good for last place in the NFC South. It was just over from the start. They started out with a 5-game losing streak. Now, the big thing coming into this season was, can Dan Quinn have a fast start? Last year we started slow and finished strong, and Arthur Blank was hoping that that strong finish last year would carry on to this season. And boy, were we ever wrong. So Arthur Blank finally pulled a plug on the Dan Quinn, Thomas Dimitroff era after 5 games. Raheem Morris took over as the interim. He started out strong. He went 4-2 in the first 6 games and then proceeded to lose the last 5. Stressful, boy. Stressful. Matt Ryan, he still had a pretty decent year in terms of stats. 4,581 yards, 26 interceptions, 26 touchdowns, Matt Ryan, he still had a pretty decent season. 4,581 yards, that's good for 4th in the league. 26 touchdowns, 11 interceptions, completed 65% of his passes, 93.3 rating. So, I mean, Matt's going to pad those stats. However, he did make some horrible decisions in some games that were pretty clutch. It was his 10th straight season of 4,000 yards. He was sacked 41 times. So, Matt Ryan he's gonna have his yards. Todd Gurley, one of the big offseason acquisitions for the offense, we thought was going to do good. He didn't. 678 yards, 9 touchdowns. But out of those 9 touchdowns, he didn't get any of those 9 in the final 6 games. He was kind of on the bench. It was running back by committee at that point. 3.5 yards average per carry. That's not good. The O-line still continued to struggle. Brian Hill was a part of the committee, running back committee, 465 yards and 1 touchdown. Edo Smith had 268 yards and a touchdown. The Falcons as a whole averaged 95.8 rushing yards per game. That's fucking horrible. It's good for 27th in the league. Passing, however, was a different story. 272 yards as a game average. That's good for 5th in the league. The receivers had pretty decent seasons. Calvin Ridley had 1,374 yards, 9 touchdowns. That's good for the lead. That was good for the lead on the team. And he was 2nd team All-Pro, so he had a good year. My guy, though, number 11, same old story. He was hurt. Finished with 771 yards and only 3 touchdowns. Only played in 9 games. Missed the last 4 games of the season. He had a hamstring injury, so that pretty much handicapped him the whole season. Russell Gage, though, he had a pretty good season. 786 yards and 4 touchdowns. But the best offensive performer for the Falcons all season was your boy, Young Ho Koo. 37-39 for his field goals, 8 for 8 on field goals over 50 yards, 144 points scored. He might have been a Pro Bowl snub, all-team snub. I think that missing that field goal against Kansas City that could have sent the game into overtime kind of hurt his chances. But the offense struggled, couldn't run the ball, couldn't score in the red zone. 31 touchdowns on 58 attempts. That's good for 53%. Couldn't move the chains on 3rd down. 221 attempts on 3rd down. Only converted 97 of those. That's good for 43.9%. That's That's horrible. And since they couldn't convert in the red zone and they struggled on third down, that means they only scored 24.8 points a game, and that's good for 6 teams. So they were in the middle of the league in terms of scoring. And they just couldn't get it right all season. And speaking of couldn't get right, speaking of can't get right, that brings us to the defense. They gave up 25.9 points a game, 398.4 yards a game. That's the 4th most in the league. 293.6 yards passing a game. And they allowed 100 yards, 104.8 rushing yards per game. The biggest problem that has plagued the Falcons for years is they don't have a pass rush. Vic Beasley, they let him go. They brought in Dante Fowler. They're gonna pay that man. They're paying him $19 million, and he only got 3 sacks in 14 games. It was a APB out for Dante Fowler. Whenever he got a tackle, I was hella shocked. The Falcons only have really one solid player on defense, and that's Grady Jarrett. 4 sacks on this season, and he's really all we have for defense. Tack McKinley started out the season with us, but was hurt. Only played in 4 games and registered a whopping 1 sack. So November 10th, they got him out here. He wasn't performing. He wasn't on the field, and he was talking hella shit on Twitter. So gotta go, man. Gotta go. Deion Jones had a solid season. 106 tackles, 2 interceptions, a forced fumble. And he led the team in sacks with 4.5. Probably the biggest breakout player on defense for the Falcons was Forsade Aluakin. 117 tackles, 2 picks. He led the league in forced fumbles with 4, and then he had 3 sacks. We drafted AJ Terrell with the first overall pick for the Falcons in 2020. He only had 1 pick. He was in the line of fire all season. He had some good plays. He had some bad plays. Isaiah Oliver was, oh my God, he's so horrible. Always getting ate up. Kendall Sheffield had a rough season too. He was getting ate up. The Falcons just as a team, they just struggled, man. They were 0-8 in games decided by 1 score. Out of those 8 games, 4 of those were 16-plus point leads. Starting out in Dallas, then they blew a lead against Chicago, then they blew a lead against Detroit, and then they even had the Bucks up by 17. Like,
a few moments later.
Alright, so I done calmed down now. So I'm done talking about the Falcons in 2020. The shit show that was the Falcons in 2020. So we're gonna take that and we're gonna throw it out. Done with that shit. On to 2021. They hired Terry Fontenot from New Orleans. He was their VP, assistant GM, director of pro scouts. He was with them for 18 years. So yes, we do have a member of the ops coming over with us to join us now, which, I mean, if he can come in and contribute and help us beat the Saints, I'm cool with that. What better way to beat the Saints than with one of their peoples coming to help us? So he's been with the Saints, like I said, for 18 years. So that dates all the way back to before that Super Bowl that they won a long ass time ago. So he's coming in to help us. Our new head coach is Arthur Smith. He just came from the Tennessee Titans. He was their offensive coordinator for a couple years. He is kind of credited with the turnaround for Ryan Tannehill, who was a no-name in Miami. Brought him up, turned him into a pretty good quarterback. Also credited with the success of Derrick Henry. Now, Derrick Henry is gonna eat regardless, but before Arthur Smith, Derrick Henry wasn't getting many carries. Arthur Smith came in and implemented Derrick Henry as the staple of that offense, and now we got a 2,000-yard rush out of Derrick Henry. Not saying that he's gonna bring that type to Atlanta, because he's gonna deal with what he has. His press conference, he mentioned being adaptable with what he has. So I mean, Tennessee was a run team. I expect us to be a little bit more run balanced under Arthur Smith. Matt Ryan's best years were when we had premier running. Our Super Bowl season, we had the tandem of Devontae Freeman and Tevin Coleman. And then earlier in Matt's career, we had Michael DeBurner Turner where we can run the ball. So I look at the hire of Arthur Smith and I think he's going to look to revamp that offensive line. And he's going to look to getting us a premier running back to go along with Matt Ryan and Julio Jones and Calvin Ridley in 2021. Because, look, y'all, I know we want a new regime to start over without Matt Ryan and or Julio Jones, but the fact is, man, we're paying them way too much. I mean, Matt and Julio, they're 40% of our salary coming into the new season. So I mean, if you cut them, you're gonna be screwed. You can try to trade them, but who's gonna trade for a 36 and a 32 at the start of the 21 season? A 36 and 32-year-old receiver and quarterback. Who's going to trade for them and give you good draft capital for those guys? So they're going to be our quarterback and receiver, I believe, to start the 2021 season. So Arthur Smith also brought in Dave Ragone to be their offensive coordinator. Arthur Smith did say that he's going to, Arthur Smith, his name is so funny, Arthur Blank and then Mike Smith combined for Arthur Smith. But Coach Art, according to the players, brought in Dave Ragone as the offensive coordinator, although he plans to call the plays himself. Dan Peace brought in out of retirement to control our defense. Before that, he was the Titans defensive coordinator for a couple years. And then for special teams, they brought in Marquise Williams. He was a former Lions assistant special team coach. So they filled up the staff. They're getting ready to go into their game plan on how to attack free agency and the draft. First, though, is the draft. The Falcons have the number 4 overall pick in the draft. If you were to ask me this a couple weeks ago, I was dead set on Justin Fields. If he's there at 4. I would love that. Being the quarterback going into the future, a pretty good quarterback. And also for Madden purposes, you know, hey, Justin Fields to Julio Jones would be super tight at Madden, let's be honest. But anyway, as much as I want Justin Fields, the team just has so many holes. There are only 31 contracted players headed into the season. It's a 53-man roster, so you do the math on how many people they need. Not only do they need people, but we know this. We're in salary cap hell. $25 million over the cap, which is crazy. So that means they're going to have to bring in some young guys and some cheap guys. So what better way to bring in young guys than by trading out of that number 4 pick and getting multiple picks? You can get 2 first rounds and 2 second round picks this year. You can do a pretty good job and get 4 solid starters just out of those first 4 picks. So they might need to consider trading out. Take the best defensive player available with that first pick, and with that second first round pick, boy, Najee Harris, or Travis Etienne. I'm cool with either one, but Najee Harris, that would be pretty tight. That first, second round pick needs to be dedicated to the offensive line, and then with that second round pick, either another offensive lineman or best defensive player available. But 4 solid starters to add to this roster. It's gonna be hard. But hey, it's the Falcons for you. Would die hard anyway, but we're gonna push forward. That's it for the Falcons. That's all I gotta say for these guys as of right now. Make sure to follow my page for more updates, for more videos, for more content. Onside Kicking It with Alex P. Make sure you follow me on Twitter, Instagram for your laughs. And until next time, man, peace. Boy, them niggas sorry as fuck, boy. One day they're gonna get right. But until then, still we rise up.